Hey there, everybody. P. Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of Album Homework Assignment. Happy Sunday, everybody. We've got in the co-captains chairs today from the Hudson Valley Squares and Metal from the Inside, Miss Sydney Taylor, Miss WMMR. And we've got also from the Hudson Valley Squares, Mr. Nick Franco. What's up, folks?
Cheers. What's going on?
Same old, hopefully everybody's having a good weekend. So they both have had their assignments for the past week or two, and I'm going to let ladies go first, as always. So Sydney, what were you given by Mr. Franco to check out?
All right, so it was funny because we were going back and forth for so long about which albums we were going to give each other. We couldn't decide, but I was actually really happy with the choice that he gave me. He gave me a Devin Townsend Ocean Machine, which I was really not, I have to be honest, I don't know why, but I'm really not familiar with Devin Townsend really at all. Heard the name, obviously I know Nick has talked about him on the Hudson Valley Squares before, and just one of those guys I guess has always been on my list. I don't know why, I've just never dove into his catalog or anything. So I was pleasantly surprised because I didn't know what to expect either. I don't know why in my brain I thought it was going to be, and it is to a little bit of extent, but really proggy. That was just in my head. I was like, oh God, it's going to be really proggy. And so I was pleasantly surprised that it was really heavy too. It was really got good melodies. It had the heaviness, that I of course love, and I know Nick does too. So it made sense to me in my brain. I was like, this is why he likes this a lot. So, first listen, the first song is called Seventh Wave, which was definitely a big dive into that heaviness that I just spoke about. And what I liked so much about this album, which I know I've beaten this to death here on this channel, but obviously people know I'm a big fan of stuff that has a lot of melody. And so I was happy to hear that this whole album, throughout the entirety of the record, has a lot of melody, which is really important to me when I'm listening to any music. I think there's a time and a place for stuff that's not super melodic, but I tend to go towards things that are. So I was really happy with the fact that it had so much melody and kind of variation between the songs. I think, there was stuff that was on the heavier side that maybe was a little less melodic. And then we went to the second song called Life. And it almost seemed like, to me, that song felt like it could be played in an early 2000s movie or something. It had that vibe to it, but in a good way. It was really melodic, really catchy. And I think that really continued throughout the entire record. I really liked 3M was, even though it was a short kind of interlude. Looking at the track listing now, I listened to it about 2 or 3 times. Voices in the Fan is a great song. And it was a decent length record as well. It wasn't too short, it wasn't too long, little over an hour. So it wasn't, oh God, this is a 3-hour record and I'm, it goes on, but it was a decent pick. And I was actually really pleasantly surprised, considering I went into it with no kind of idea or any other than that preconceived notion that it was going to be really proggy, which I don't know why I had that. I was surprised. I really enjoyed it. It was great.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, I picked that one because it's not one of his proggiest ones. He's gotten more proggy. He's done everything under the sun, and I knew you would love his voice, and I was hoping that you would be captured by that album, because honestly, it's on any given day, it's in my top 3. Sometimes it's my favorite album of my life, that I've ever heard. So I'm glad you.
Voice too. Yeah, he's got it's on the higher side, compared to I guess voices in the metal genre per se, but smooth, clear. He's obviously been doing this for a while, trained vocally or whatever. So I enjoyed that too. I think he's got a great voice, along with playing guitar and everything like that.
Yeah,
so.
one of his first breaks was working with Steve Vai.
So
he was very good. Yeah, so he's definitely a prodigy, and he was kind of going through a lot of shit when he made that album, and it was recorded under turbulent circumstances during some crazy storm. And which is funny because it's all about the ocean and water and everything like that. Yeah, that's cool. I'm glad you liked it.
It came out late 90s, which it totally has that vibe to it. Like I said, I was joking that one song kind of I felt like could be played in an early 2000s movie or something.
Yeah.
But it has that kind of late 90s like energy to it. But it wasn't like industrial, like of stuff
Right.
that was kind of headed to at that time. It was
Industrial, it's not new metal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
it
mean,
kinda
that's the great thing about him and his catalog. It's like you really can't pigeonhole it anywhere because
right,
he'll
Yeah.
do like one album in one style, and the next album would be completely different,
right.
and then the next album would be completely different. And the solo stuff sounds nothing like Strapping Young Lad, which is
Mhm.
like in your face, crazy, extreme
Yeah.
metal, right?
Yeah.
And but like Nick said, he does some albums that are very proggy and abstract and electronic, and then he does others that are much more anthemic, and you never know what to expect from the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a true musical genius, I think. And most people in the know get that, but I think it's a kind of a shame that a guy like Devin Townsend is not more well known to the masses, because he's a pretty intense, intelligent, funny dude who has a lot of creativity under his skin. So
Yeah, it definitely made me want to go into the rest of his catalog and listen to some of the other records and stuff, which, like I said, I don't know why or how I missed him, or just, I mean, like I said, I've heard of him. But I was growing up so inspired by stuff that my parents would play. So if my dad, wasn't really into it or didn't, listen to it, I kind of was not immediately on my radar. So but I'm glad that, you gave me that album, because like I said, it made me want to go and listen to some other stuff. So
Good.
So
Yeah,
that
I had a
being
feeling.
said, that brings the question. So
Yeah.
are you would you purchase it and go down the Devin Townsend rabbit hole? Would you maybe just listen to it online every now and then, or would you walk away from this experiment and say, "Nah, I'll never listen to this again"?
no, I'd purchase it. I'd listen, like I said, listen to some other records. It was just enough of a mix of kind of everything that I like that would interest me to go, into other records. And even hearing what you just said about him doing other, different styles, and you never really know what to expect, just kind of intriguing of like, ooh, what is, this one gonna sound like? Is it gonna sound anything like this one? Or so I'm interested to listen and see what I think of some other records. So
Where would
I'd
you
buy it.
send her, Nick? Where would you send her next?
Yes.
I would probably either Teria or what's the one he did with Annika with the crayons on it?
That's exactly what I was going to suggest. Isn't that?
Yeah.
Oh boy, I can't think of the name.
Yeah, I'm blanking on it.
Yeah,
But
okay.
that one.
Cool.
I would send her. Yeah, I'll send her that, because that's super melodic and just catchy as hell. And
Plus, to hear him working with a female singer is really, really fascinating, I think.
Yeah, their voices did very well together.
Cool.
Yeah, I would say don't go to Ziltoid next, because that probably
No.
is that
I'd say that one.
Is that Empath? No, I'm trying to.
No, I can see the album in my brain.
Yeah, me too. I'm like,
We have the olds, Sydney.
yes, we do.
I can hear Aloe just saying it right now.
Yes.
It's called.
Oh, is that Z2?
Oh, how is it not on Spotify? Of course, it's not on Spotify because
or maybe it's Addicted.
Addicted.
Yeah, that's the one. It's
the
Devin,
one.
Yeah, that's under the Devin Townsend band, because that's the thing. He's got Devin Townsend band, Strapping Young Lad. So yeah, Addicted. Devin Townsend Project. No, sorry, this is the Project.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
That's really good, and it's really catchy, and the songs are like very upbeat, kind of like it's very poppy. It still rocks, but you might like that one quite a bit.
Cool. I'll check that one out.
Yeah, and Annika von Giersbergen, who used to be in The Gathering, she sings on like 4 or 5 songs on that. Really, really good.
That is one hell of a name.
Annika von Giersbergen. Yes, a lovely lady, very, very cool person.
I love that. Cool. I'll check that one out.
I bought her peanut M&Ms outside of a club in Albany.
Amazing.
That's a story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was hanging out with when she was singing with Amorphous.
So what were you giving, Nick?
Oh, so I got Vain, No Respect, 1989. Yeah, and they were on Island Records. That was a big deal. They probably were knocking on getting really big, I would imagine. I don't know why they weren't bigger. It's not, and that it's the type of I guess they consider it glam rock. But it sounded like the first heavy music that I ever listened to, like in my life when I was, just realizing that heavy metal was a thing, but I hadn't yet discovered the Metallicas and Iron Maidens. It took me back to like when I was young. I loved The Ultimate Sin by Ozzy. I still love it. That this is similar to that, but I heard like almost like kind of similar, because one thing about this that I liked is the guitar solos, and the guitar playing was like, this music might be considered, it's like an afterthought of heavy metal. It's not as good, but these guys definitely know their way around their instruments, so it helped the songs fill out more. It's not something that I would like go to now, but like I'm not crazy about his voice. He's got a good voice, but I'm not crazy about it. But I'm very picky with voices. But like I think I said this when we did this with Butch. Like I wish this music was more popular now, because it's so much better than what's going on now. I think it's more honest. And I can see why you like it, Sydney. I think my favorite song was probably Icy, actually. Kind
Wow.
of a later track. Yeah, it had like a riff that just reminded me of the old days. I don't know why. But yeah, I guess this band's been through quite a bit, and they have a guitar player. I want to get my facts straight here, that did became a woman, right?
Yes.
Recently. Yeah. And they're still going strong, right?
Yeah, I actually I had gotten into these guys. I'd heard of them. They were kind of getting, a couple years ago, like 2018, 2019, they were really kind of coming back into the fold of like the 80s scene. And I listened to No Respect and I loved it. And then I saw them, they played M3 Rock Festival in Maryland, like 2019. And honestly, I mean, they were one of the best. They played on like the Sunday or something, but they were one of the best bands of the whole day. Like they sound pretty much spot on to the record 30 years later. They're pretty incredible.
That's cool. Yeah, I liked Laws Against Love. I think that's the one with the gang vocal, a little bit of the gang. I like that aspect of the glam rock. Like they have the attitude. This obviously came out in the height of that. It's just not a genre that I because I might, Bryce from Bryce Talks Metal, he loves he's like you. He flies the flag of this style of music, and there's actually it's got a popular little subculture, even in like Scandinavia. A lot of young people are into, right, are into glam rock stuff. And good. I'd rather have people listen to this than some of the other popular crap that's out there. But yeah, no, I didn't hate it. It was it's got a lot going on that's positive. That's good. They're, like I said, the guitars, the soloing and everything like that. Like these guys, they know what the hell they're doing. And how young were they when they made this? They must have been pretty young.
Yeah, I mean,
is this not the debut, is it?
It is the debut.
Oh, it is the debut, yeah, 89.
Yeah.
I mean, what's interesting about them, and I think the reason maybe why they didn't get so big, was it came out in 89, so it was kind of like towards the latter half of that whole era. Right. But two, they were based in the Bay Area, which for like a glam band was like
wrong place. Yeah. Sorry, that's where the thrash bands live. You got to get in, right?
So they were like in like just the Bay Area. Like, I mean, they got on Island Records, but they weren't in LA. They weren't in like the New Jersey scene. So I think that maybe just wrong place. Almost wrong time. They were like right on the cusp. I feel like they could have been like a Skid Row if it just hit differently. Because I mean, that Skid Row album came out in 89. They managed to go on and have a pretty decent career even into the early 90s. So I think that there were just a couple of factors that were against them as to why they didn't get to that level.
Well, look what was happening, right around that year. Even with the thrash bands from the Bay Area, it was only a few short years later that grunge took hold. So grunge took a chunk out of metal, big time. I think metal's recovered. I don't think bands like this or anything. I don't think they need, the landscape has changed so much. But I guess as far as like commercial superstardom, it was probably a lot of bands were a little too late or a little too early.
Yeah.
But,
interestingly enough, Steven Adler was in the band in 1991, I guess, after he was ousted from Guns N' Roses. But
I did yes, I read that about them.
Yeah, they had a couple records afterwards. Like I think Moving Out was one. They did like 2 or 3, I think. And then, like I said, they kind of have developed a bigger kind of cult following in that kind of niche world the last couple of years, especially. Like they've been on the Monsters of Rock cruise, and like have kind of been really accepted. I feel like they were really unknown for a long time. Like I wasn't super familiar with them until only a couple of years ago, once they kind of started to get back, into playing and stuff again. But I mean, now they're kind of, I think they're still working on a new record. I think that is going to be coming out in like a year or 2 or something. So, yeah.
I've never listened to them.
Oh, wow.
I'm gonna have to go check them out. Yeah,
Yeah.
Sitting here looking. They got a pretty long history, and their last album was in 2017. And
A lot of albums.
Cool. Well, Nick, would you consider purchasing this, or is it maybe probably not?
I know. I don't think I would, but I would definitely go see them with you, Sydney. That's what I would do. I would definitely, yeah. Like I don't. It's not. Listen, like I said, I wish this stuff was more popular. Because I wish kids liked instrument music, and this is a good example of it. It's accessible, and but it's still got enough, like actual what do you call it, chops that it's could get kids to be like, oh wow, actually playing instruments is more valuable than whatever the hell they do now. I sound so old.
I get it.
Get off my lawn, damn it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you at least enjoyed it and didn't totally hate it. So
No.
that's good to hear.
Cool. Yeah, 2 very interesting picks today. I commend you both. Very cool. I kind of thought Nick was like somehow going to try and squeeze some like crazy Norwegian black metal album over to Sydney, but no, Devin Townsend really good. Well, because what's really cool about this is that I knowing you like I do, Sydney, I think that there's a lot of Devin Townsend material that you would really like a lot. But again, it's daunting because if you look at his discography, it's ridiculous.
You're like, oh shit, where do I go?
Where do you start, right? Yeah, so that's a good place to start. And I think any of the albums that we mentioned, you would probably really enjoy quite a bit. There's so much of it, but yeah, it was a good choice.
Yeah.
I have a real quick question for Sydney. Did you happen to let the album, when the last song ended, did you happen to let it play out? Did anything happen at the very end of the album?
I didn't.
Oh man, I was so hoping you would.
Okay, then I gotta go back and do that.
You want me to tell you?
Yeah,
it's kind of silly. So the last song is called "Things Beyond Things," and it's just a ballad. Very very nice song, and it kind of drifts off into silence. And after about 15 seconds or 20 seconds of silence, Devin lets out this blood-curdling scream that goes on for like 10 seconds, and at the end it goes up. Like the dude, first of all, he used to abuse his voice in the studio so much, and this was in those days. And I cannot tell you, and Devin Townsend, if you ever watch this for whatever reason, you SOB, I can't tell you how many times I've fallen asleep to that album in my life, and then that bolts me upright when he lets that goddamn scream out. It's happened at least a few times. Scared the shit out.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. Yeah, I didn't, so I'm gonna have to go back and
you'll be ready for
that song. Yeah, at least I'll be prepared for it this time.
Yeah, he's very unpredictable and zany, and that's one of the great things about him.
That's awesome.
It was such a popular thing to do in that time period. Like people would, at the end of every album, they would have these like, oh wow, great 10-minute long song, awesome. And it's like after 4 minutes, it's like
silence,
right? And you have to sit and wait or fast forward to get whatever it is that's at the end.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you both for doing your homework. This was fun. And stay tuned for another album homework assignment coming up next week. I believe we have Rich Catino and Jamie Laszlo next week. So stay tuned for that. Please visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, of course, we're here on YouTube, all together, all the damn time. Please make sure you check out Sydney Taylor over at Metal from the Inside, and Nick Franco here in the Hudson Valley Squares, both on the Hudson Valley Squares. We will have no squares coming up tomorrow, but stay tuned for our next episode of the Hudson Valley Squares a week from tomorrow on Monday. So thanks for watching. For Sydney Taylor and Nick Franco, I am Pete Pardo. Have a good rest of the weekend, everybody. Take care.